Hello there, so nice to have you here today on this fine Sunday. I've got an important message for you today, and that is that the clothing donations bin is not the sustainable way to get rid of unwanted clothes. I'm Lisa-Marie Armstrong, sustainable stylist and mindset shifter, and the founder of the Sustainable Style Academy, where I help people go from being an overwhelmed closet owner to a sustainable style champion. In this video, we're going to look at 3 different ways that you can pass your clothing on without having to put it into the donations bin. Most people think that throwing clothing into the clothing donations bin, you know, those clothing bins that you put all your clothes in that you don't want anymore, that somehow miraculously get carried off somewhere. Yeah, most people think that they're making a donation when they do that, but that's not actually the case. They're sorted by the companies that collect them, and then they are sold off to middlemen that end up taking the clothes in bulk to different poorer countries around the world. Usually the clothing finally ends up in places like Africa, like in Ghana or in Kenya, where they're sold at bulk to the secondhand clothing dealers that are there who sell it in their markets. But unfortunately, the majority of that clothing actually ends up in the landfill. And this is something that we absolutely must avoid because the amount of clothing being thrown away by people is exorbitant. It's absolutely insane. 70% of the clothing that we put in donations bins ends up getting landfilled. That's a lot. To put this more into perspective, a garbage truck load packed with clothes gets dumped into the landfill every second of every day. That's how many clothes are being thrown away. There's such a mass pollution problem because people are buying clothes and throwing them away just as fast as they're buying them. It's just insane. You can check out a film here on YouTube called Textile Mountain, The Hidden Burden of Our Fashion Waste. Here on YouTube, I'll put it down in the show notes for you. You see, what happens to these clothes is that they have loads of chemicals in them and dyes from, all the processes that they've been through. And these get washed into the earth and end up polluting the planet and the water supply. Unfortunately, the majority of the clothes that are thrown are made of polyester or have a large polyester content in them. If you go into your closet and you look at your clothes, you will find polyester probably in just about everything you have. Stretchy things like spandex are included and elastan are included in that type of fiber considered polyester. So polyester can't biodegrade really. They say it takes 200 years to biodegrade, but even that isn't quite right. There are people saying it's actually more like 800 to 1,000 years for it to actually break down into components. If you consider the amount of things being thrown away, then that's quite a massive amount. Throwing clothes into the donations bin is probably one of the worst things you can do when you're getting rid of clothing. I even hate calling it getting rid of clothing because getting rid of sounds like it's going to go to the landfill anyway, right? You need to find new words to describe what we do. So there are better ways to take care of the clothing that we don't want anymore. Let's look at 3 options that I have for you. The first is to sell the things that you don't want anymore. So sell the things that have value. That means anything with name brands or anything that looks really nice. You can sell that most likely, and there's many different platforms and actual brick and mortar places that you can go to sell your clothes. Research sites like Depop or ThreadUp or Vestiaire Collective, I'll put them in the show notes. Don't worry, you don't have to try to catch them here in the video. You can research on these platforms to find out how much you could actually sell your item for by basing it on what other people are selling similar items for. On these sites, you can also even sell your items. And there's many platforms for reselling old clothing. So believe me, these are not the only three. You can also sell, like I said, in a brick and mortar store. A brick and mortar means it's an actual physical store that you walk into because it's made with bricks and mortar. That's why brick and mortar. And what happens in brick and mortar stores? They usually work on commission basis. That means you get a percentage of the selling price if the piece of clothing sells. So the benefit to selling is that you make someone else happy, of course, because they're getting something that they want, and you're happy too because you've actually made a little bit of money off of the items of clothing that you didn't want anymore. You can save it and buy something that you really, really want, right? So the second option that you have is to swap it. You may have heard about swapping. It's coming up and being practiced more and more. That's when people come together in a large community or a group or as an event, or you arrange one yourself among 12 people in your home, and you exchange clothes that you don't want anymore. And it works really well. I've done several swaps, and it can be also a whole lot of fun to do. So it's where you exchange clothes for someone else's. You can do it at any price level. There are different types of swaps for different types of price levels as well. You refresh your wardrobe and keep clothing circulating, so nothing's going into the landfill. And it's fun. It's a community building project, you know. You're getting something new in return, and you're meeting some nice people or having a chat with a good friend. So the third tip that I have for you, the third one, is donate, but not in the way that you think. You're donating to a place where you can actually see the people that you're actually going to donate to. So we're talking asylum centers, women's shelters, orphanages, homeless shelters, etc., etc., etc. Here in Switzerland, where I live, we have a company that donates to the mountain peoples because those people oftentimes struggle financially. And you can actually create packages for these people. The great things about donating in this way is that your clothing is going directly to good use. It's not going into the donation bin, it's not going to a middleman, it's not going to end up in the landfill, hopefully, right? It's staying out of the landfill, and it really is helping somebody in need, which is important. So you can feel good about doing something that actually truly helps someone. I mean, what could be better than that? I mean, what better feeling than to know that you've done something good for someone? But of course, the very best way to avoid having to find new homes for clothes you don't want anymore is to stop buying so much meaningless stuff. Oh yeah, stop buying meaningless stuff. The less thoughtless stuff you have, the less closet sorting you have to do, and the less time you have to take to go and find a new home for it. So to help you out with that stuff that you need to give away, I have created a little sheet for you in PDF form that you can download, and it has this information at the fingertips, making it super easy for you to find a provider in your area. Just go to the show notes and find the link, and that'll take you to where you need to go. And of course, if you're a lover of sustainable style or want to become one, then make sure you subscribe to this channel down below. I'm putting out videos every Sunday as often as I can. I do my very best to be consistent. And of course, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook in the show notes for the handles right down there. So thank you so much for joining me today. I wish you all a fabulous week and happy Sunday still. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Until then, take care and have a great sustainable week.